Breaking news, a new motion has been filed in response to Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan's request to dismiss the federal case against her.
Okay, things are not looking too good for Judge Hannah Dugan. Now, if you forget who this is, here's a quick reminder.
That, with the agents gone from the hallway, Eduardo Flores-Ruiz and his attorney exit into the hallway through a different door.
Oh, and by the way, we also have governors getting destroyed over sanctuary policies.
Your safety and well-being are not the priorities of Tim Walz and his administration.
So we have a lot to cover in this video. We're gonna go over the Judge Hannah Dugan updates. We're gonna go over governors getting scorched. You're gonna enjoy this one. Now, before we start the video, please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys can help this channel, but it also helps others see the videos as well, and people need to see what's happening. Let's go.
Breaking news, a new motion has been filed in response to Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan's request to dismiss the federal case against her.
And after reading through the 25-page motion, federal prosecutors say Dugan is not above the law. The indictment against Dugan alleges she helped an undocumented man who was wanted on a federal warrant avoid arrest by ICE agents. In Dugan's motion for dismissal, she asked the court to dismiss the indictment based on judicial immunity. However, today, federal prosecutors came back saying her request was unprecedented and, quote, would in essence say that judges are above the law.
So basically, the federal prosecution cannot believe that Judge Hannah Dugan's defense team is really trying to argue that she should be held immune because she was just doing her job as a judge. But there's a really big problem with that argument.
I think it will carry a lot of water here. Judges may personally disagree with presidential policies. They may not like the way that the law is being carried out. They may not like these new policies, but that doesn't give them an excuse to try to thwart and obstruct federal agents from doing their jobs.
I don't think many people realize if Judge Hannah Dugan wins this case, that means any judge in the United States can basically do what Judge Hannah Dugan did. Help an illegal immigrant evade ICE, but say, hey, I was just doing my job as a judge, I was protecting the hallway, and I was facilitating some things around.
Judges certainly can write opinions and express views of the law that are at odds with what the president says, but they can't take the law into their own hands. And just as a judge couldn't claim that they're judicially immune if they went out and robbed a bank, judges can't say that they're judicially immune if they do something that's outside of the role of being a judge, such as trying to help someone escape the clutches of federal agents who are just trying to enforce the law.
Now, here's what's interesting. Because of Judge Hannah Dugan's case in Wisconsin, you have another judge who's trying to communicate with ICE to make sure this never happens again.
Milwaukee County's chief judge says he's talking with Immigration and Customs Enforcement after the arrest of Judge Hannah Dugan. Dugan is accused of helping an undocumented immigrant evade ICE agents at the Milwaukee County Courthouse. Carl Ashley is the county's chief judge. During an interview that will air Sunday on Upfront, Ashley said he was in touch with ICE as recently as last week.
There is an effort to try to realize how they can do their work and how we can do ours. And so this is an ongoing discussion, and I hope to, based on some recent events and also some clarity from other aspects of policies, that we're able to come up with something that's going to be supportive of what we have to do as judicial officers in Milwaukee County.
Now, if you haven't already, make sure to please subscribe to my channel. This is what we do here. We cover these cases in detail, and we hold our elected officials accountable. Let's continue.
Conducting business elsewhere. Dugan appeared before a federal judge this morning before being released from custody. Her attorney saying she wholeheartedly regrets and protests her arrest. Wisconsin Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin has also now weighed in, writing, "The president's administration arresting a sitting judge is a gravely serious and drastic move, and it threatens to breach the United States systems of checks and balances." But also, new U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi made her position clear in her own post, writing, "No one is above the law."
Now, if you're unaware, Kash Patel had a very fiery exchange over Judge Hannah Dugan, but what this shows us is that the Trump administration, federal prosecution, they don't care who you are. You keep hearing this, no one is above the law, but we can really see in the Judge Hannah Dugan case, no one is above the law.
It appears that what you did was a violation of that policy. unless you can express a clear law enforcement purpose for having done that.
The simple law enforcement purpose is to show America that we investigate any individual who commits a crime, especially those in positions of public trust.
But do you agree with the presumption of innocence in the U.S. system?
Absolutely. As a public defender, that's what I fought for years. Well, but that's different than this.
But Mr. Director, this is one of the reasons why that guideline is there, so people, especially the director of the FBI, doesn't announce to the country that somebody's already been found criminally liable when they haven't. She hasn't, has she?
But that's not what we said, that she was criminally liable. We said she was arrested and showed it.
Yeah, we know she was arrested, but the issue is the photograph. I'm asking you, going forward, I hope as the leader of the FBI, you will comply with the guidelines of the FBI that everybody else is expected to follow.
I believe I have, and I will going forward.
Well, this seems like a direct violation of this guideline.
I guess we're in disagreement, Senator.
Now, speaking of federal hearings, I know we were just talking about Judge Hannah Dugan, but for those of you that are still watching this video, I think you're going to enjoy this new clip of Tim Walz that just popped up on my phone 8 minutes ago. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. You're gonna need some popcorn. Check this out.
Work with law enforcement to enforce the law. In May 2020, looting, acts of violence, and arson occurred on your watch in Minneapolis after you refused to bring in the National Guard. Governor, your agenda is clear. Free health care, free college and driver's licenses for illegals while handcuffing law enforcement when they're trying to protect our citizens and their communities. If you think that's not a sanctuary state, you shouldn't be governor. By turning Minnesota into a magnet for illegals, you have opened up our communities to dangerous criminals, including known terrorists, gang members, murderers, and child predators. You have sent a resounding message that if you're a hardworking, law-abiding citizen of Minnesota, your safety and well-being are not the priorities of Tim Walz and his administration. But if you're coming to our state illegally, you're not only welcome with open arms, you're entitled to free stuff on the taxpayer's dime. This is absolutely disgraceful. Governor Walz, your sanctuary state agenda has been defined by your utter failure. You have failed to enforce the rule of law. You have failed to uphold our national sovereignty. And most importantly, you have failed the people of Minnesota. The time for radical sanctuary state policy, sir, is over. The voters made that clear last November when they elected President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. You remember him, don't you? Governor, the time for real leaders and real leadership is now. And with that, sir, actually, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record the governor's tweet that I referenced from May 23rd, 2018, which makes it clear his hatred for federal law enforcement. Thank you.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Chair recognizes Mr. Mfume.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I have a unanimous.
I figured this would be the perfect segue going from federal hearing to federal hearing. As I make this video right now, governors are being torn apart for their sanctuary state policies and city policies. And by the way, while we're here, we might as well now transition to the governor of Illinois, who's also getting torn apart.
Here. Mr. Governor, do you think that biological men should be able to use women's restrooms?
I'm not sure how this has to do with immigration.
It's just a yes or no question.
Why are you?
It's very easy to answer.
This?
Do you think
I thought we were
men should be using
doing
women's
fact
restrooms?
finding. I'm sorry.
Do you think men should be allowed in women's restrooms?
I'm not sure why this has come to this issue.
You
It has
tweeted
nothing
that
to do
as
with
a
immigration.
protest against President Trump, everyone should use the other gender's bathroom today. Have you ever used the women's restroom?
Not that I can recall ever, sir. No.
You wanted everybody else to do it, but you didn't?
Sir, I'm not sure why we're on a topic that has
I'm
nothing
asking
to do
you,
with
you're
today's hearing.
advocating for men to use women's restrooms, but you didn't do it?
I do not advocate that, no.
Well, actually, you did. You said everyone should use the other gender's bathroom today.
I can tell you that
You are
you regret
politicizing
saying
this in a way that what we ought to be focusing on is
Do you
the
regret
failure
encouraging
of the federal
men to
government
use women's restrooms?
and the Congress to deal with immigration reform.
Do you regret encouraging men to use women's restrooms?
Again, you're taking us on topics that have.
Did you ever
nothing to
consider
do
that
with
women don't
the
want you
subject
in their,
that you
in their
invited us here
bathrooms?
for? So you're.
I believe it is.
And you extended this executive order not once, not twice, but 3 times, most recently January 16th of this year. Is that correct?
If that's what your facts show, I signed countless executive orders.
I would assume you'd know
policies
it's
and laws.
Executive Order 1. And this is a continuation of your predecessor's sanctuary state policies, correct? Is included in that.
I want to be sure we are defining sanctuary state properly.
I'll define it for you. It is the policy of the state that state officers or employees shall not disclose information to federal immigration authorities for the purpose of federal civil immigration enforcement. It goes on to say law enforcement officers may not use resources, equipment, or personnel for the purpose of detecting and apprehending any individual suspected or wanted for violating a civil immigration office. Law enforcement officers have no authority in the state of New York to take any policy action solely because the person is an undocumented alien. That's a quote in your executive orders that you extended. Now, do you know who Sakir Akan is?
I want to get back to the first part.
No,
of
I'm
your
asking a question. Do you know who
Well,
Sakir Akan is?
I want to make sure you understand that this simply says that we will cooperate with ICE.
No,
in
it does
all-
not say that. I read what it
We will
says, and let me talk to you about the results. Do you know who Sakir Akan is? You should, as the governor of New York State. Do you know?
Refresh my recollection.
He was an illegal migrant in New York. And do you know what crime he committed in addition to being here illegally?
No, I do not.
You do not. This was widely reported. He found a 15-year-old girl, threatened her with a metal pole, told her to get into the back seat of his car. He took her clothes off, and he violently raped her in Albany, New York. Do you know who Sebastian Zapita Khalil is?
I'm sure you'll tell me there's many cases, whether they're
These are
here-
high-profile cases. Yes. New Yorkers know about them, and you don't. So let's talk about Sebastian Zapita Khalil. Do you know who that is?
I don't have the specific details at my disposal, no.
Well, this is an illegal migrant in New York because of your sanctuary state policies. Do you know what crime he committed?
I'm not familiar at this moment.
I bet you're going to be familiar when I remind you. He found a sleeping woman on the subway, lit her on fire, and burned her alive. This is in Kathy Hochul's New York. And as I'm sure you are aware, and I'll remind you, that ICE issued an order to detain this violent criminal, but that was rejected by New York officials due to sanctuary state laws. Now, do you know who Raymond Rojas Basilio is?
I just want to say this. These crimes are horrific.
Because of
And I
your
would
sanctuary
say
state policies.
In all of these cases, we would work with ICE to remove
You did
them.
not in this case. They are
If they need
walking
our
on the
assistance.
streets because of your policies and your executive order that you signed 3 times. Now, Raymond Rojas Basilio, do you know who that is?
I'm telling you this. I will
You don't know
explain
who
you
it
the
is.
policies of New York. We cooperate with. I know you're just
You do
trying
not.
to.
You do not. Specifically, ICE was told not to detain this individual, and he burned a woman alive on the New York subways in Kathy Hochul's New York. So I will keep on going. What about Raymond Rojas Basilio? Do you know who that is?
I'm going to tell you our overall policy, which will address all this.
I'll tell
We
you
do
who
not-
that is. He is an illegal who molested an 11-year-old in our state because, again, of your sanctuary state policies. This illegal was shielded from federal immigration enforcement and able to commit this heinous crime. And what about Wilson Castillo Diaz? Do you know who that
I'm
is?
telling you this. We do cooperate fully with ICE in criminal prosecution. Our sanctuary
You're not advocating for
regulations
these victims.
Only deal
This
with
is a
civil
5-year-old who was
enforcement.
raped
Civil
on Long
enforcement.
Island in Nassau County. You are not advocating on behalf of these victims. You are shielding illegals. Even in your opening statement,
That is
you
not
prioritize putting illegals first.
That is not
Rapes
true.
of young girls, beatings of NYPD cops by illegals who are here under Kathy Hochul's failed policies, burning New Yorkers alive. This is Kathy Hochul's New York. It's one of the many reasons why you're hemorrhaging support from hardworking New York
These are
families.
horrific crimes, and they're heartbreaking.
They're horrific crimes that are committed on your watch. You signed this executive order on your first day in office. You signed it again and again this January. We deserve a governor who stands up for law-abiding New Yorkers, doesn't put illegals first, but actually puts New Yorkers first.
Okay, I had to play that through because holy cow, I don't know if we've ever seen a New York governor of all the governors be scorched like that. Now, if you're unaware of what's going on, this is really the first time Republicans, conservatives have a chance to confront these governors who've really been chirping online, saying that ICE is terrible, Trump sucks. Well, they were all subpoenaed and they had to show up in front of members of Congress. And as you can see, members of Congress were not holding back. This is what happens when you are held accountable. You have to answer for your questions, and really for like the first time ever, we are seeing Democrat leadership really get called out on the main stage, the global stage. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for being here. God bless, and we'll see you all later.